Hi everyone, Brian Savchik here. So today I want to talk about how do you calculate the potential value of your options if you're going to a privately held company. So, if you're a recruiter and you're representing a candidate at a client of yours for probably most likely a very senior level position, and it's a privately held company, this is going to be really valuable to you. If you are a candidate and you are joining a privately held company and you're being offered options in that company, this will also be very valuable to you. Now, this situation happens a lot in my industry, which is the pharmaceutical industry. For anyone who's not familiar with the pharmaceutical industry, companies can exist for a very, very long time before they have any sort of commercial product on the market. So for years, companies are in clinical phases while their drug is in clinical trials, and the company exists for years. And people who join those companies early on are offered options. And basically, the reason why you join such an early stage company, which has, frankly, a lot of risk if you don't have a product on the market or any sales or anything like that, is for the potential payout in equity should that product hit the market and everything work out, right? You can cash out pretty big. But how do you calculate the value of the options that you're being offered if your company is not currently publicly traded, right? If you're being offered an option package or an RSU package at a company that is already publicly traded, well, that's pretty easy to figure out what the value is, right? But if it's not publicly traded and you're a privately held company that maybe will be going public, or let's say it never ends up going public and the company ends up being sold, well, what's the value of your options? So it's really simple, right? You take whatever value, whatever options you're offered, the number of those options, and then you have to ask a very important question. The important question is this: what's the number of outstanding options out there, right? So you need to find out basically how much of the company will you be owning, right? So for instance, if you're offered 50,000 options at a privately held company, and you find out there are 20 million outstanding options, well, what you then do is you take your 50,000 that you've been granted and divide that by the 20 million outstanding options, and at that point that is your multiplier. That is the percentage of the company that you own. So in this particular instance, you own 0.25%. So your multiplier is 0.0025, right? And then, so what would happen then is if the company was sold for $500 million, so this is now how okay, let me figure out what the potential value of this equity is for me. And you can start running numbers and say, okay, if the company was sold for $500 million, well, you take 0.0025 times 500 million, and you'll realize that if the company sold for 500 million, you're going to get a payout of $1.25 million, right? And obviously, if the company was sold for $1 billion, you'd get double that. What's really important, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you, is that very often, people are granted this number of 50,000 options or something to that effect, and it sounds like a lot. But if you don't understand how many outstanding options there are, you can't really determine whether or not the 50,000 that you're being offered is a nice number or not, right? Because obviously, I use 20 million outstanding options in this particular case, in this example, but if the company had way more than 20 million outstanding options, and obviously 50,000 is not nearly as valuable. And on the flip side, if the company's got a lot less than 20 million outstanding options in this particular case, then your 50,000 is worth an even higher percentage of the company, and you'll do even better on the sale. So anyway, that's my advice for today. That's a little training tip for today. If you're in a situation where you're going going to a privately held company and you're going to be offered options, or you're thinking about ever joining a startup, I would say this situation happens much more in startup companies that are, pre-revenue, pre-IPO, where you're taking on a lot of risk by joining them, and you really want to understand what your reward is going to be for taking on that risk. This should be really helpful for you. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.